how much are they reacting to just being around so many young black men?
I think there is a lack of exposure of people in general, white people to people of color in this community. I really do.
I'll give you a hint, even though I think you already know the answer. She's from Minneapolis. Man, we've been writing and talking about Minneapolis for so long because it is such a place of so much black violence, black mob violence, black on white crime, and the reporters and public officials are as determined there as anywhere to ignore, deny, condone, excuse, encourage, and even lie about it. I mean, one of the first stories we did out of Minneapolis involved large groups of people, large groups of black people rampaging through the downtown, going up to the mall. What was it called? Nicollet Mall or something like that. Don't make me go back and read my own book, White Girl Bleed a Lot. And this was happening days and days and days in a row. Dozens of examples. People were getting hurt. Remember, one guy had permanent brain damage. That happened on St. Patrick's Day. People were getting knocked off their bicycles. It was just a violent bit of mess of mayhem. So finally, this kept going on and on. Finally, after weeks and weeks of this, the Star Tribune comes out and says, "Yeah, well, this is happening down there." Then the reporter, like in the third or fourth paragraphs, he does what they call the nut graph, where he sums up what the article's about. And he says, we just can't detect a pattern. Nobody can detect a pattern. Nobody. And he just went on to describe all these random things from random criminals happening to random people when it was mobs of black people attacking white people in downtown Minneapolis. So from there, flash forward a little bit more. So all these stories in the paper, the downtown merchants are really concerned about crime, especially the bar owners, because there appears to be a little bit of argy-bargy going on there afterwards. Meantime, I'm posting videos, I'm writing stories all about Minneapolis. I'm going on Minneapolis Talk Radio. The hosts are telling me, "Oh no, it's not happening here." The callers call in and go, "Oh yeah, here's my story." Flash forward up to St. Patrick's Day this year. 75 black people rampage downtown Minneapolis, beating people up. They beat up one family of 3 generations in there, including somebody who was a member of one of these downtown booster clubs. First thing he does is go, "Hey, how come nobody told us this was going on down here?" And I just did a story like yesterday. White kid coming home from work, meets up a bunch of black kids, gets his skull fractured. There's tons of stories. I've done tons of stories. There's tons of video on this. I'll post a playlist, my Minneapolis St. Paul playlist. And I do a lot of writing on this in White Girl Bleed a Lot and Don't Make the Black Kids Angry, with lots of links to even more videos. So now comes this reporter to talk about one of the entertainment districts of downtown Minneapolis. They call it the Hennepin Corridor or something like that. And, well, let's just get this straight right now. Crime in downtown Minneapolis is a black thing. Okay? 90, 95, 96, 97, 98% black. There's lots of it. Lots of violence. We're going to meet a few of the people here. So the reporter kind of wants to do something on that, but he kind of chickens out, and at the end, he kind of brings it up, and he goes, "Well, is this just..." Well, I'm not even going to say what he said, because then that's a spoiler on this thing. You could already probably guess who she is. So let's watch this story, and let's classify this as, I think this is one of the silliest stories I've ever seen in my entire life.
Tonight we're taking you out on the town, but we're staying out a little bit later than you're probably used to.
Hennepin Avenue in Minneapolis is witnessing a spike in crime around closing time. Tonight, the Fox 9 investigators are taking a walk on the wild side. Here's Tom Lydon.
As the sun simmers on the horizon and the city exhales, Hennepin Avenue is the artery pumping life back into downtown Minneapolis. The bright lights of the theater district, The pulsing beat of the nightclubs. The gritty vibe of street life.
Like Las Vegas to me.
But come closing time,
Let's keep moving, y'all. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
it is a roll of the dice.
But tension in the air is pretty palpable.
When a stroll down Hennepin can feel like you're walking a gauntlet.
Hey, you can kill us, but it's still 100 million of us. And guess what? And we still.
Let's go, sit back. Sit back.
So far this year, more than 200 violent assaults downtown. On this night, a man is stabbed in the chest with a pocket knife after harassing 2 women.
A lot of them are drug addicts. A lot of them drink quite a bit.
And you're looking for trouble, that's when trouble comes your way.
Violent crime in downtown Minneapolis is up only 5% overall, with no homicides. By this time last year, there were already 5 killings. But arrests for robbery and aggravated assault are up dramatically. The Fox 9 investigators dug a little deeper, crunching the numbers along just Hennepin Avenue from Washington Avenue to 12th Street, and discovered violent crime in this Hennepin hot zone was up 26% in 2016. The peak time, no surprise, midnight to 4 a.m.
For the fact that we were just sitting there kind of minding our own business.
This couple became one of those statistics. Coming in from the suburbs 2 months ago to catch a theater show, they stuck around for drinks, then a late night slice of pizza. Sitting on the steps of the Cowell Center, they were suddenly surrounded by 4 people and without provocation, violently attacked.
And then out of the blue, somebody that I didn't even realize was standing to my left punched me in the face.
There was blood everywhere. His whole face was completely swollen. I mean, it was very, very scary to see him like that.
Within 48 hours, police would arrest all 4 suspects, still hanging out on that same block. A dance company in the Cowell Center recently sent a letter to supporters saying, "Our longtime home at 6th and Hennepin has now become an environment that is hostile to the arts," going on to cite social unrest on Hennepin Avenue.
We are in the thick of it.
Lamar Carruthers is in charge of security for the strip club Augie's and wonders why police don't aggressively enforce curfew and loitering ordinances and seem to ignore the dice games and the bus shelters.
They're lining up on this corner here and they're attacking people.
It's not like the business owners aren't aware of what goes on out here. In fact, they want to keep it safe for their customers as well. But take a look at Augie's out here on Hennepin. There are some 50-plus cameras out here, high definition, also recording sound. And they routinely share some of that video that they capture with police.
The MPD has eyes too, of course. More than 100 high-def cameras that can focus on downtown hotspots, looking for the usual suspects.
And frequently they'll find people, and sometimes wearing the same clothing, who come back downtown the next day.
I think that there's a ton of more activity going down here.
It's the first week on the job for Mike Sullivan, the new inspector of the 1st Precinct. He knows the trouble corners better than most. A decade ago, he was a night shift supervisor downtown.
Do you think downtown has more of a perception issue or more of a real crime issue?
I think there's both. There's some people that come down here to cause problems and to commit crimes. I don't know what you might call it, frequent flyers that come down here to do their crime.
Construction along Nicollet Avenue has pushed many of those frequent flyers to Hennepin, where they can find intoxicated victims staggering home like zombies.
And a lot of patrons, you know, they think this is the coolest thing. You know, they're on a show or something like that because they're downtown having a great time.
And the casting call for the Hennepin Avenue reality show just gets bigger after bar close. By 2 a.m., the energy's kinetic, the air filled with the overwhelming smell of marijuana.
The weed is powerful.
And there's blue everywhere. Police on foot patrol, bike, and horseback. There are 14 new officers assigned to the 1st Precinct. Police are now also working with probation officers and homeless shelters, trying to move the chronic offenders off of Hennepin.
I think our cops are really good at doing their job. These guys down here, again, it's the club scene, so we're not looking for a skin color. We're looking for those that are too intoxicated to enter, those that shouldn't be on the streets, those that are out looking for trouble.
It's 3:15 in the morning here at Hennepin Avenue and 5th Street. Police are still trying to sort out that stabbing over there. You have several dozen people on the corner over here, several dozen more over there. and none of them seem to be going anywhere very fast.
It's almost like it's a completely different demographic than what's in the bars when they're open.
That word, demographic, can sound to some like social code, another way of saying young black men. Council President Barb Johnson believes that while the crime problem is very real, Hennepin Avenue is also experiencing a clash of cultures.
How much are they reacting to just being around so many young black men?
I think there is a lack of exposure of people in general, white people to people of color in this community. I really do.
And you're sensitive to the criticism of profiling, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
In some ways, Hennepin Avenue finds itself at the intersection of our national conversation about race and law enforcement, and whether crime is always colorblind. But this stretch of a dozen blocks may be the closest thing we have to Times Square. The question is whether we all feel safe to join the party. For the Fox 9 investigators, I'm Tom Lydon.
That story was so weak. It's kind of embarrassing. You know, when I was watching this video, all of a sudden all these other Minneapolis, St. Paul images flooded into my brain. Thinking of the Mall of America, number of episodes of black mob violence we've seen out there on video. Thinking of a guy named Ray Woodstrand. He was a young, happy-go-lucky guy that moved into a black neighborhood in St. Paul. A couple weeks later, he goes out to meet the fellas. He is kicked in the head. He runs into a group of 50 black people. They kick him and kick him and kick him until he almost dies. Now he has permanent brain damage. And without going into the details, I will tell you that his brain damage knocked over these dominoes that had done damage to lots of other people. I think there was a car accident involved. A few months ago, I got an email from one of our YouTube viewers, and he said, "Hey, Colin, do you remember Ray Woodstrand?" I said, "Yeah, I remember him." "Oh, hell, I remember that guy." "Oh, hell yeah." Because it happened again. Right near where Ray used to live. A white girl with a couple kids moved into the neighborhood where Ray lived. Same thing happened to her. Somebody came along and killed her. And so we go on and on and on in Minneapolis, and every time the story is the same. Violence denial, violence denial. One of the first videos I did on Minneapolis, I sent an email to the police department PR person, and I was saying, "Hey, what's up with all those black people rampaging down the street on that video? Is that a problem in Minneapolis?" And the way that playbook rolls out is you have to get indignant so you don't have to answer the question. So he got very indignant and reminded me that, "Colin, we don't pay attention to color here. Crime is colorblind. And so I don't know the answer. You know, you're so blah. You know, you're a bad person for asking it." So then I said, "Well, what about, okay, I know you said you're colorblind, but what about your police department website where you talk about recruiting black people and and you call black people a member of a protected minority, and you say if you're a black person and you want to become a cop in Minneapolis, you'll get special training, special breaks on the test. You'll get all sorts of special goodies in order to become a cop." So this whole we're colorblind thing, well, it's not really the truth, is it?
Racially integrating the Minneapolis Police Department was a long-fought battle.
I think some folks were afraid you're going to open the door up and you're going to bring in subpar people.
With many heroes along the way.
On top of this, layer on a whole ton of Somalis who go around spreading anarchy and chaos and violence as well. And layer on top of that, the whole Black Lives Matter thing that was focused on, what was his name, Jamari Clark? Jamari Clark was beating up his girlfriend. Cops rolled in. They said, "Excuse me, Mr. Clark, do you suppose you could stop beating up your girlfriend for a while?" He did not like that. He attacked the cops, went for their gun. They shot him dead. Now all the Black Lives Matter folks are trying to turn Jamari Clark into a folk hero. Now comes the president of the Minneapolis City Council to tell us, well, she kind of figured out what all this black violence is about, not just in Hennepin, but all over Minneapolis and St. Paul. She really knows the answer. White people are responsible for it because somehow we don't understand black people. If I were one of her advisors, I'd be out on the street. I'd be grilling those cops every day. Every time there was something like a Jamari Clark, I'd go up to that cop and I'd say, okay, my name's Colin Flaherty. I work for the president of the city council, the most dynamic black whisperer in America, even more dynamic than Hillary and Newt, two of her competitors for the chief black whisperer in America. I got a question for you, dude. What did you do to make the black kids angry?